Dagfinn Høybråten. We will be doing an interview today and asking you a few questions. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you said that cultural diplomacy can be used as a tool to strengthen relations. How do you think this can apply to Nordic cooperation specifically?
Our Nordic experience is that culture is sort of the glue in our region. We have a common history. We are close to each other geographically, but we also have a common culture. Even in that common cultural tradition, there are differences. But I think using culture as an area where we cooperate, it helps us to promote that cooperation, to build it stronger. And it's a huge resource to draw from when we are to strengthen our region and to cooperate outside of the region.
Okay, thank you. Would you say that Scandinavians identify themselves as more European today, or as more specifically what country they come from? And how do you think European cooperation can be increased?
I think it depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
Many people will say, I'm from my local community. I'm a Norwegian national. Some will say yes, when you are far away from home, you are from Scandinavia, depending on what makes sense when you speak to different people. But I do think that young people are more and more internationally oriented. They live in a global village. They know no borders in their daily life because they have contact with people through the internet and by other means all around the globe. So I do think that, yes, the national identity is important, but the regional and the international identity becomes more and more important.
Interesting. Thank you very much.
I'm Jorge Cordova from Colombia. Basically, talking about culture, you mentioned that there are different events going on among the Scandinavian countries, like the 15th anniversary for music and literature. And what plans or what other kind of events can happen abroad in order to promote the Nordic culture in other countries?
There is an increasing interest in the Nordic experience, the Nordic social model, and also in Nordic cultural expressions. We had a huge cultural festival in Washington, D.C. last year with 700 artists from all kinds of different arts. And I think there is an increasing demand for that type of communication that we will make use of in the years to come. In different parts of the world, based on what we have to offer, but also based on an exchange with other countries and other culture. I think culture is a great means of communication because communication is about our heads, but it's also about our hearts, and culture appeals to our hearts.
Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Alexander Mansham from the Seychelles. I just wanted to ask you how you saw the potential union of the Nordic countries coming into place and what sort of implications that would have for the region.
You know, the Nordic countries have cooperated for more than 60 years with the Nordic Council and the Nordic Council of Ministers, and with common institutions, common programs, common projects in different fields, all fields of politics. And I think we will continue as Europe has gotten more integrated and taken over many of the ideas that were first started in the Nordic setting, like the common labor market and the passport union. I think new areas will develop where there will make sense to promote Nordic solutions, but not as a contradiction to the European setting, but more as a supplement to it and as a region within the larger European region. There are no prospects of developing a Nordic Union in my view, but I think the Nordic countries with different relationship to the European Union all appreciate the close Nordic cooperation as a part of their adding value of proximity, as I have called it.
Okay, and if hypothetically the union was to form, what would be some of the major obstacles and challenges that the Union would face?
Well, as I said, I do not think in real political terms that there will be a union between the Nordic countries in the foreseeable future. We have the European Union, and the Nordic countries all relate to the European Union in one way or another. But as in any regional cooperation, there are certain areas of common interest, and then there are certain areas of different interests. And you just have to respect those areas of different interests as not necessarily an obstacle, but an area where you could overcome, or where you decide that you agree to disagree, that you agree to compete, and that is not threatening the overall cooperation.
Thank you very much for answering a few of our questions. In regard to proximity, earlier you spoke about how it involves not only geography, but also history, culture, and other elements. My question is, what elements of the proximity do the Nordic countries share specifically, and how could these commonalities be applied to the case of the European Union as a whole?
I think the strong Nordic tradition comes out of a common history, a common destiny in a way, to a large extent, common language, but I think for anyone who studies the history of this region will be hit by the fact that the stories of these people is interwoven. I think that's a strength, because when you know your identity, you know where you come from, you can also with a more open mind approach people from other areas. So I do think that as the European Union has grown, and there are many regions within the European Union, I think having a regional cooperation like we have had in the Nordics long before the European Union came about is a strength to the larger cooperation, not a threat to it. We just have to make use of the areas where we do have a common interest in the forming of a larger European policy, and implementing European policies in a way here in the Nordics that does not make it more difficult, but make it more easy for the Nordics to move and to operate in different countries.
Thank you very much.